Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the fascinating and honestly mind-bending worldview of philosopher Luciano Floridi. We're going to talk about how the very architecture of our reality is changing. We tend to think of technology as just tools we pick up and put down, right? Well, we're going to explore how it's actually become a completely new environment that we physically inhabit. So let me ask you something. Are you still treating the internet as something you log into and log out of? If you think going online is a conscious choice you make, what we're about to discuss is going to radically challenge how you view your everyday life. I mean, if someone asks you today, hey, are you online or offline right now? You might as well be living in the 1990s. Because the truth is, with your phone in your pocket, pinging your geolocation, the digital clock in your kitchen syncing to a server somewhere, and algorithms constantly curating your newsfeed, you are always both. And this brings us to a massive collective delusion we all share. We've basically been sold this Hollywood myth, think of the Terminator, right? Of highly intelligent machines adapting to our chaotic world. But the engineering reality? It's completely different. It's about smart agency that is entirely divorced from conscious intelligence. The machines we rely on right now, from the algorithms pricing your airline tickets to that smart vacuum roaming around your living room, they have absolutely zero conscious intelligence. But they have immense agency. They solve specific problems incredibly well without needing to think at all. To really grasp this paradigm shift, we're going to cover 5 key areas in this explainer. First, the fourth revolution. Second, enveloping reality. Third, the Onlife habitat. Fourth, the threat of gray power. And finally, the green and blue synthesis. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the fourth revolution and how it's displacing human centrality. We really need to start by understanding the historical weight of this moment. Because what we're experiencing right now isn't just an upgrade in our gadgets. It's a fundamental shift in who we think we are as a species. Think about it. Copernicus, Darwin, and Freud displaced us from the center of the universe, biology and rational thought, while Alan Turing delivered the fourth revolution, proving we are no longer the unique central agents of information processing. For centuries, we thought we were the absolute only ones capable of complex logical tasks, like playing chess or translating languages. The Turing revolution totally shattered that illusion. We're now sharing the informational domain with artifacts that process data and execute tasks way faster and way more efficiently than we ever could. We've literally been displaced. Moving on to section 2, enveloping, and how we are re-architecting reality. So because machines lack true intelligence, we've had to invent a remarkably clever engineering trick to make them successful, and that trick is called enveloping. Since we aren't actually building conscious AI that can understand our messy, unpredictable human world, we're doing something much more profound to make our stupid but smart machines work. The crucial point here is that we don't unleash a robot into a complex human environment and ask it to adapt. No, we build a highly controlled 3D space where its stupid but effective algorithms can actually thrive. Think about industrial robotics, for example. An envelope is the specific physical boundary where a robotic arm can operate successfully. We don't build machines to navigate our chaos. We eliminate the chaos to suit the machine. The perfect way to illustrate this concept is the dishwasher. Nobody built a humanoid robot to stand at your kitchen sink with a sponge, right? Instead, we built the dishwasher, an entirely new, machine-friendly environment designed around a simple spinning nozzle. You don't teach a machine to wash dishes like a human. You create a sealed box, pump in some soap and boiling water, and let a mindless rotor spin. The environment is engineered entirely around the machine's limitations. Now I want you to imagine expanding that dishwasher analogy to our entire society. We are re-architecting everything, from urban planning to driverless car lanes, just to make our physical world friendly for mindless algorithms. When city planners talk about creating special, sensor-laden lanes for autonomous vehicles, they are literally enveloping the city. We're actively transforming our analog reality into a machine-readable format so that our digital agents can succeed. We are making our world machine-friendly. Which brings us to section 3, welcome to the Onlife, the Mangrove Society. By enveloping our physical and social spaces with these digital tools, we've triggered the creation of an entirely new habitat. This isn't just about smart cities. It's about a complete merging of the analog and the digital into a singular, seamless lived experience. We don't longer just use computers. We physically inhabit the Infosphere. We're constantly surrounded by countless digital agents interacting with one another in the background. In fact, right now, the vast majority of data being transmitted globally isn't from humans talking to humans. It's machine-to-machine communication. We're basically like scuba divers swimming in an ocean of data where the native fish are algorithms. Florida uses this really beautiful mangrove metaphor to explain this shift. Think about where a river meets the sea. The water is brackish, meaning it's impossible to separate the fresh analog water from the salty digital water. Mangroves only grow in the specific mixed environment. And similarly, our modern society only functions in this brackish mixture of physical and digital reality. Trying to pull them apart today? It's literally like trying to undissolve salt from water. So welcome to the Onlife. It's a hybrid existence where even someone who has never touched a smartphone is fundamentally impacted by the digital ecosystem surrounding them. You might be thinking, but wait, there are millions of people who don't use the internet at all. And that's true. But their credit scores, their medical records, their local economy, and their political landscape, those are entirely determined by the Infosphere. The Onlife is completely inescapable. Let's look at Section 4, Gray Power and the Erosion of Autonomy. Living in this enveloped Onlife brings us to the actual threat we should be focused on. And spoiler alert, it's not a violent robot uprising. You can forget about superintelligent machines deciding to wipe out humanity. The true challenge of the fourth revolution is far more subtle, and it's deeply embedded in the systems we use every single day. The real danger is the rise of gray power. This is the subtle manipulation of our choices and autonomy by tech platforms that operate silently in the background of our re-architected reality. Think about programmatic advertising, executing bids in microseconds to decide exactly which product you see, or judicial algorithms predicting criminal recidivism to influence sentencing. This creates what Florida calls predictable freedom. Your choices feel autonomous, but the menu of options was carefully engineered by an algorithm designed to maximize profit or efficiency. In a mature information society like ours, power has completely shifted. It's gone from controlling physical resources to monopolizing uncertainty and dictating the very questions we're allowed to ask. In the past, having power meant controlling gold or oil. Today, power means controlling the search bar. If a single platform controls the questions you are prompted to ask, they completely control the answers you receive. And by doing that, they shape your very perception of reality. Because we are no longer at the center of the informational domain, we have to urgently ask ourselves, what exactly is our role in this enveloped world? If machines process data better, drive cars better, and optimize logistics better, what are we here to do? If we don't define a human project for the 21st century, we risk becoming nothing more than passive consumers in a world optimized entirely for machine efficiency. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, the green and blue synthesis. Let's look at how Florida proposes we build a sustainable future out of this philosophical reality. We can't rewind the clock, and honestly, we shouldn't want to, but we can choose how we design the architecture of our Onlife. The solution he offers is a strategic synthesis of the green and the blue. This means leveraging our digital tools, the blue, not just for blind consumerism, but to actively build a capitalism of care that preserves the environment, the green. The digital doesn't have to be the enemy of the ecological. By utilizing the incredible efficiency of smart technologies, we can decouple economic success from environmental destruction. We can actually use the infosphere to care for the biosphere. You see, our ultimate value in the Onlife isn't our ability to process data. It's our unique, beautiful vulnerability. It's our capacity to inject ethics, friction, and meaning into a highly automated system. Machines don't care. They don't feel the weight of an ethical dilemma. We are nature's beautiful glitch. We're fragile, we're easily distracted, and we're highly emotional. But that is exactly where our value lies. Our job is to be the caretakers. We're the ones asking the meaningful questions that guide those algorithms. So as we navigate the brackish waters of this fourth revolution together, it's really up to all of us to ensure our digital habitat empowers human autonomy rather than erasing it. We have re-architected our world to make it incredibly friendly to smart machines. Now, the ultimate challenge is making sure that this new, enveloped reality remains fundamentally friendly to the beautiful, fragile human glitch. How will you design your Onlife to preserve human friction, ethics, and meaningful choice?
I want you to think back, if you can, to a very specific sound.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you probably do. It's a sound that basically defined the late 90s and early 2000s.
A symphony of static.
Exactly. You sit down at this big, bulky desktop computer, you double-click an icon, and you hear it. That static, screeching, alien sequence of beeps and hisses.
Right, the dial-up modem connecting to the internet.
It was so loud, too.
Oh, yeah. But It was really the soundtrack of crossing a border.
Like a literal boundary.
Yeah, I mean, you were leaving the physical world and explicitly entering a completely different space.
That's exactly it. It was an event, right? You had to pull a chair up to a desk, tie up the family phone line for hours.
And make everyone in the house mad at you.
Yeah, and you consciously had to decide, I am going online now.
You were making a trip.
Right. And then when you were done, you disconnected, you logged off, you physically stepped back into the quote-unquote real world.
Which just sounds so ancient now.
It really does. And I bring this up because I want to ask you, the listener, a very specific question.
Oh, reality check, really.
When was the last time you actually logged on or logged off of anything?
I mean, truly disconnected.
Right. Like, do you still treat the internet as a destination? Because if you do, you're operating with a map of a world that simply doesn't exist anymore.
The map is completely burned up. I mean, it's gone.
Yeah. We are no longer visitors to some digital landscape.
No, we aren't just using technology as a tool that we pick up and put down.
We are inhabiting it.
Exactly. It has become our actual environment.
And that transition going from using a tool to inhabiting an environment, that is the monumental shift we are exploring in today's deep dive.
It's a massive, massive paradigm shift.
It is. So we are taking a stack of sources today. Primarily lectures, interviews, and the really profound writings of the philosopher Luciano Floridi.
His work is just incredible for making sense of this.
It really is.
Mhm.
And we are going to look at the new human reality through his lens. It's a reality where the boundaries between our analog and digital lives have just completely dissolved,
Permanently blurred.
creating this state that he calls the Onlife.
Yeah, it's a fascinating philosophical framework, honestly, because it doesn't just look at the technology itself.
It goes way deeper than that.
Exactly. It looks at what the technology is actually doing to human identity and, human agency.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to help you navigate all this, we're going to trace a very specific journey today.
A roadmap for the Onlife.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll start by defining this new blended habitat, what Floridi calls the Infosphere.
Which is foundational to everything else we'll discuss.
Right. Then we need to talk about history, specifically how humanity has been displaced from the center of the universe for the fourth time.
The fourth revolution. That part is quite a blow to the ego.
Oh, completely. And from there, we have to look at the physical world. I mean, how are we literally rebuilding our cities and our homes to cater to mindless algorithms?
A process he calls enveloping.
Right, enveloping. But if we are rebuilding the world, you have to ask, who is drawing the blueprints?
Which leads us directly to the invisible influence of the tech giants.
Yeah, a concept known as gray power. And finally, we aren't just going to leave you with, like, doom and gloom.
No, there is a way forward.
Yes. We'll look at the blueprint for our survival. How we can marry digital technology and environmentalism in what is beautifully termed the green and blue synthesis.
It is a really expansive intellectual landscape. But understanding these concepts is really the only way to make sense of the friction we all feel in our daily lives right now.
That low-level hum of anxiety we all have.
Exactly.
So let's start with that friction and this whole idea of where we actually live. Because to understand our place in the modern world, we first have to accurately define the habitat itself.
And this habitat is radically different from the one humanity has occupied for, well, the last 300,000 years.
Right. I mean, for almost all of human history, we understood our environment solely in biological and physical terms.
Exactly. We lived in the biosphere.
The physical stuff.
Yeah, the physical crust of the Earth, the atmosphere, the oceans, all the physical elements necessary for biological life to just emerge and prosper.
But Floridi introduces a concept that overlays and entirely integrates with this. He calls it the infosphere.
Right, the infosphere.
Okay, let's translate that into plain English for a second. When you say infosphere, are we just talking about the cloud? Like server farms out in Nevada somewhere? What actually is this space?
Oh, it's much, much more pervasive than just server farms.
Okay.
The infosphere is the entire global space made of information and data.
So it includes the servers, obviously.
Yes, but it also includes the data flowing between your smartwatch and your phone, the algorithms predicting the weather.
The digital financial markets.
Exactly. Even the smart sensors in modern traffic lights. It is an entirely informational environment.
Wow.
And the most crucial characteristic of the infosphere is that it destroys the boundary between online and offline.
Yeah, the sources make a huge point about this, that asking someone today if they are online is just a fundamentally 90s question.
It just doesn't compute anymore.
No, it really doesn't. Think about it. If you are walking down a trail in the woods, supposedly totally disconnected.
But you have a smartphone powered on in your pocket.
Right, you are continually pinging cell towers. You are being geotagged.
Your pedometer app is counting your steps and sending that data to some health server somewhere.
Yeah, and meanwhile, your smart appliances back at your house are updating their firmware while you walk.
So you are simultaneously in the woods and in the network.
What's fascinating here is how Flaherty illustrates this permanent state of connection. He uses a really elegant concept, the mangrove metaphor.
Well, I love the mangrove metaphor.
It's so good. So think about the biological reality of mangrove trees. Where do they actually grow?
Well, they don't survive in clear, sweet, fresh water like a mountain river.
Right.
And they don't grow in the deep, highly salinated water of the open ocean either.
So where do they go?
They thrive in the delta, in the tidal zones where the river meets the sea.
And when the fresh water and the salt water mix in those zones, it creates brackish water.
Exactly. Now imagine standing waist deep in a mangrove forest, right? You scoop up a handful of that brackish water.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
If I were to ask you, hey, is the water in your hands river water or is it ocean water? You wouldn't be able to answer me.
Because it's both.
Right. The question itself is structurally flawed.
Mm-hmm.
In brackish water, it is biologically, chemically, and physically impossible to separate the salt from the sweet.
They have synthesized into a third entirely new state.
Yes.
So applying that to us today, the analog world, our physical bodies, the trees, the dirt, that's the sweet river water.
Right.
And the digital world, the algorithms, the internet, the data streams, that's the salty ocean water.
And we are no longer swimming in one or the other.
We're in the brackish water.
Exactly. Our modern society is a mangrove society. The digital and physical realities are so inextricably mixed that trying to separate them is, well, it's like trying to unbake a cake.
Unbake a cake, that's a perfect way to put it. You can't take the flour out of a baked cake.
You really can't.
And you can't extract the digital data layer from modern physical reality. They have blended into an environment where we are always connected, even when we aren't actively, swiping a piece of glass.
Right. And the way we process information in this brackish water is entirely new. The sources pull a brilliant analogy from film theory to explain this.
Oh, yeah, talking about diegetic and non-diegetic information.
This is such a vital distinction for understanding how our perception of reality has actually shifted.
Let's break it down for everyone. Think about a classic movie, something like Casablanca.
Classic.
There's a scene where Sam is playing the piano in the bar. The characters in the movie actually hear the piano.
Right. They talk over it. They react to it.
Exactly. That music exists inside the physical world of the story. Film theorists call that diegetic information.
Because it's part of the reality of the scene.
Yes. But then, think about the swelling orchestral score during a dramatic chase scene.
The characters in the movie don't hear that orchestra.
No. Only the audience sitting in the theater hears it. That is non-diegetic information. It exists strictly outside the reality of the characters.
And if we look at human history, our relationship with digital information used to be almost entirely non-diegetic.
How so?
Well, the data existed outside of our immediate physical, biological reality.
Yeah.
As you said in the very beginning, you had to sit down at a terminal, dial in, and actively look at a screen to access it.
Right. You had to step out of the physical room, cognitively speaking, to access the digital data. It was a completely separate space.
But the sources argue that today, that boundary has completely collapsed. We now live with what they call transdiegetic information.
Transdiegetic.
Yeah, and they use a video game analogy for this, specifically a game like Mass Effect or Halo.
Oh, this makes it so clear. Because in these modern games, you are controlling a character in a 3D world, but you also have a heads-up display, a HUD, glowing on your screen.
Right, it shows a mini-map, your health bar, your ammunition.
And that HUD is fascinating because it is information from outside the physical reality of the character, right? But the player uses it to directly influence actions on the inside.
Exactly. You see a red dot approaching on your mini-map, so you turn your character down a specific hallway to avoid it.
The outside data directly changes the inside physical reality in real time.
Yeah.
I want to push on this for a second, though, because someone listening might say, well, isn't that just like reading a paper map while hiking?
A lot of people make that comparison.
Because that's outside information changing my physical actions too, right? How is the HUD in a video game or the transdiegetic information in the Infosphere fundamentally different from just looking at a map?
It's a great question, and the difference really lies in the feedback loop and the dynamism of the data.
Dynamism, okay.
Think about it. A paper map is static. It is a historical document of a physical space. If a tree falls across the trail while you are hiking, the paper map doesn't change to show you the tree.
Right, it just sits there.
But transdiegetic information in the infosphere is dynamic. It's responsive.
Okay, I see where you're going.
When you use a navigation app on your phone to drive across town, the satellite data and the algorithmic traffic predictions are completely external to your physical car.
Yeah.
But that external data is dictating when you turn the steering wheel in real time, based on conditions that are actively changing.
Like a sudden traffic jam.
Exactly. And your car's physical movement is, in turn, feeding data back to the satellite to update the map for everyone else.
Ah, I see. It's a two-way street. The analog reality updates the digital map, and the digital map updates our analog actions simultaneously.
Exactly. The digital and the analog are in this constant porous exchange. We are living in a transdiegetic state, constantly navigating the infosphere through these real-time invisible feedback loops.
And there is a point made in the sources that really stopped me in my tracks regarding this habitat.
Which part?
Well, it's easy to think, oh, this only applies to tech-obsessed people in Silicon Valley or Tokyo or wherever.
Right, the early adopters.
Yeah, but the sources note that there are hundreds of millions of people on Earth who have never even made a phone call.
It's true.
They don't own a smartphone, they don't have a router, but even they are living in the infosphere.
It speaks to the invisible, overarching power of this new environment. I mean, even if you completely disconnect,
Throw your phone in a lake.
throw all your electronics into a wood chipper and move to a remote cabin in the woods to live off the land, you are still bound by the infosphere.
Because the world around you is running on it.
Precisely. The global economy, agricultural supply chains, political policies, medical research, climate trajectories,
Yeah.
all of it is entirely driven by the billions of people who are actively living in the mangrove society.
The macro decisions that shape the fate of the planet are being made in the brackish water.
Yes. And if you choose not to swim in it, your life is simply being determined by the currents generated by those who do.
Wow.
The atmosphere has changed. You can hold your breath, but you can't step out of the air.
So the concept of opting out is essentially an illusion at this point. We are in the infosphere, that is our habitat.
Oh, wait a minute.
But if we accept that the environment has fundamentally changed, we have to ask a much more uncomfortable question.
Okay, lay it on me.
If this is where we live, who are we within it? Because the sources argue that in this new environment, humanity is no longer the main character.
And to understand how our identity is shifting, we really have to look at what philosophers call narcissistic wounds.
Narcissistic wounds, I love that term.
It's very descriptive. History is basically punctuated by these massive paradigm shifts that deliver a profound blow to the human ego.
Right.
There are moments where we discover that we aren't as special or as central to the universe as we desperately wanted to believe.
The great historical ego checks. Let's walk through them, because this context is really crucial for understanding where we are right now.
Okay, so the first revolution, the first major narcissistic wound, was brought about by Nicholas Copernicus in the 16th century.
Back when we thought we were the center of everything.
Exactly. Before Copernicus, humanity looked up at the night sky and genuinely believed that the Earth, and therefore humanity, was the absolute fixed center of the cosmos. Everything revolved around us.
We were the point of the universe, the ultimate VIP section.
But Copernicus, through mathematics and observation, proved that we are not the center.
We're just passengers.
We are just passengers on a rock spinning around a rather ordinary star located on the outer edge of a vast, completely indifferent galaxy.
We were violently displaced from the center of the physical cosmos. A massive blow.
But we recovered. We retrenched. We told ourselves, okay, fine, we aren't the center of the universe. But at least on this spinning rock, we are the undisputed kings.
Right.
We told ourselves we are the pinnacle of creation, totally separate from and superior to all the other animals.
Which brings us to the second revolution, driven by Charles Darwin in the 19th century.
Enter Darwin?
Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection shattered that biological superiority complex. He demonstrated that we are not a separate divine creation placed above the ecosystem.
We're part of it.
We are biologically connected to every other living thing. We share a common ancestor with apes, with rodents, with bacteria.
We were displaced from the center of the biological world.
We found out we're just another branch on the family tree.
Yeah, but again, the human ego is resilient.
It really is.
We retreated to the mind, We thought, all right, we're just animals on a rock in a random galaxy,
Yeah.
but at least we are rational. At least we have consciousness.
We thought we were fully transparent to ourselves, completely in control of our own thoughts and actions.
And that illusion was dismantled by the Third Revolution,
Freud.
brought about by Sigmund Freud, and subsequently expanded by modern neuroscience and psychoanalysis.
The discovery of the unconscious.
Yes. Freud argued that we are not the masters of our own mental house.
We're really not.
We are driven by deep-seated impulses, repressed traumas, biological neurochemistry, cognitive biases that we don't fully understand and cannot completely control.
It's humbling.
It is. Our rational, conscious mind is just a tiny boat floating on a massive dark ocean of the unconscious.
We were displaced from the center of our own mental space. We learned that we are opaque to ourselves.
Exactly.
So just to recap for everyone, we got kicked out of the center of the universe, kicked out of the center of biology, and kicked out of the center of our own minds.
A rough few centuries.
Truly. But for the last century, we thought we had one safe space left.
Our ability to process information.
Right. We believed we were the ultimate information processors. We were the only entities that could play a complex game of chess, or translate Mandarin to English, or calculate the aerodynamics of a bridge. We were the undisputed masters of logic and intellect.
And that leads us to the Fourth Revolution. The fourth narcissistic wound, which we are literally living through right now.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It was initiated by Alan Turing.
The father of modern computing.
Turing's work in the mid-20th century laid the entire foundation for artificial intelligence and computation.
Yeah.
And the Fourth Revolution displaces humanity from the center of the informational domain.
We're losing our grip on that too.
We are realizing, with increasing speed, that we are no longer the unique, undisputed masters of information processing. We now share the Infosphere with artificial agents that can process data faster, more efficiently, and in many cases, just vastly better than the human brain ever could.
Now, I really want to pause here, because when people hear artificial agents taking over, the immediate cultural reflex is to picture Hollywood tropes.
Oh, always.
We picture the Terminator or Skynet, or an AI that suddenly wakes up, becomes self-aware, and decides to conquer humanity.
The glowing red eyes.
Exactly. But the sources are incredibly explicit that this fear of conscious humanoid AI is a massive distraction. It completely misses the point of the Fourth Revolution.
It is a distraction because it projects human qualities onto non-human tools.
Right.
The reality of the Fourth Revolution is much stranger, and in some ways, much more humbling. It centers on a profound philosophical and practical shift. The complete divorce between agency and intelligence.
The divorce of agency and intelligence. This feels like the crux of the whole issue. Break down how those two things were married in the first place.
Historically, throughout all of human existence, if you wanted a complex, non-physical task accomplished, you needed biological intelligence to do it.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say you wanted to translate a legal document from Italian into English, or you wanted to predict the harvest yield based on weather patterns.
Or, in a more modern context, land a commercial airliner.
Exactly. To execute those tasks successfully, to have agency, you required intelligence. You needed a human being who actually understood the meaning of the Italian words, who understood meteorology, who understood the aerodynamics of the airplane.
Right.
Agency, the ability to act successfully to achieve a goal, was inextricably linked to intelligence. The ability to understand what you were doing. They were married. You simply couldn't have one without the other.
Right. It makes sense. I mean, a hammer has agency to hit a nail, but only if an intelligent human swings it. The hammer can't build a house on its own.
Exactly. But modern digital technology, specifically advanced algorithms and machine learning, has finalized a permanent divorce between the two.
How does that actually work in practice?
Consider the autopilot system landing a Boeing 777 in dense fog.
Okay.
Or an algorithmic trading bot executing 3 million financial trades in a microsecond on Wall Street. Or a chess program defeating the reigning human grandmaster.
They're highly successful.
But these systems have absolutely zero intelligence. They possess the biological, conscious intelligence of a toaster oven or a brick.
Okay, I have to push back a little here, just playing devil's advocate for the listener.
Sure.
When I watch an autopilot land a plane, adjusting for crosswinds, calculating altitude and speed in milliseconds, it looks intelligent. It feels like it's making smart decisions. How can you say it has the intelligence of a brick?
It's a vital distinction between mimicking the outcome of intelligence and actually possessing it.
Okay, explain that.
The autopilot does not know what an airplane is.
Right.
It does not know what a runway is, or that human passengers will die if it crashes. It has zero semantic understanding of the world.
It's just numbers to it.
Exactly. What it has are sensors feeding data into a highly complex mathematical function that outputs a physical response, adjusting the flaps, reducing the thrust. It is blindly following a statistical model.
I see. It reminds me of a river carving a canyon.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Because a river has immense agency, right? It can cut through solid rock over millions of years to create the Grand Canyon. It achieves a massive, complex physical outcome.
But the river isn't smart.
No, it doesn't know it's cutting rock. It has no blueprint. It is just water blindly obeying the laws of gravity and fluid dynamics. Immense agency, zero intelligence.
That is a phenomenal analogy.
Yes.
The algorithms running our world are like digital rivers. They have staggering agency. They can perform complex tasks flawlessly.
But they have no intelligence.
None. And that is the narcissistic wound of the fourth revolution. We thought our value, our superiority, was tied to our ability to do these complex tasks. We thought doing the task required our unique human mind.
And now we are realizing the task can be done better by a mathematical river. We don't need conscious intelligence to achieve successful outcomes in the infosphere.
Exactly. So waiting for AI to become human-like or conscious before we start worrying about its impact is entirely missing the point.
It's already here.
The machines are already dominating the informational space without needing a single drop of actual intelligence. They don't need to be smart to outcompete us. They just need to be highly agentive.
Which fundamentally redefines who we are. Floridi suggests that in this environment, we must view ourselves as informational organisms, or inforgs.
Yes, inforgs. We are no longer the isolated supreme intellects. We are data subjects.
Right.
We are nodes in a massive interconnected network, sharing the infosphere with mindless but highly capable digital entities. We are processing information alongside them.
It's a huge reality check, but it immediately raises a glaring question.
Which is?
If these machines are truly as dumb as a toaster, if they have zero actual intelligence and no understanding of the world, how are they succeeding? I mean, how is a mindless algorithm parking a car better than a human driver? The sources provide an answer that I found absolutely mind-bending.
It's brilliant.
It's because the machines aren't actually adapting to our complex world. We are actively adapting the physical world to suit them.
This brings us to a concept drawn from industrial mechanical engineering. It is called enveloping.
Enveloping.
And understanding enveloping is perhaps the most critical insight for navigating the Onlife.
Let's dig into enveloping. What does this mean in a practical engineering context?
Imagine a massive automotive manufacturing plant. You have these giant robotic arms welding the chassis of a car, spraying paint, assembling engines.
Okay, picture that.
Now, if you want a robot to paint a car, you don't build a humanoid robot with 2 legs and stereoscopic vision. Give it a bucket of paint and a brush, and unleash it onto a chaotic factory floor filled with people.
And ask it to figure out how to find the car and paint it.
Right.
If the robot has zero intelligence, it would just trip over a cable, paint the walls, spray the engineers, and catch fire. It can't handle variables.
Exactly. The human environment is too noisy, too chaotic, too unpredictable for a mindless agent. So instead of trying to make the robot intelligent enough to navigate our world, engineers build an envelope. An envelope is a highly controlled, highly structured three-dimensional space that is specifically designed around the limitations of the robot.
You just remove the chaos.
You remove all the variables.
Yeah.
Inside the envelope, everything is quantified. The engineers dictate exactly where the car chassis will be down to the millimeter.
They dictate exactly when it will arrive on the conveyor belt.
They control the lighting, the temperature, the humidity. The robot remains completely mindless. But because the environment has been perfectly tailored to its specific parameters, the robot operates with 100% success.
It executes the code flawlessly because the physical space has been enveloped around the machine.
Yes.
Okay, that makes perfect sense in a Ford factory.
Yeah.
But the sources bring this concept right into our homes, and they use an analogy that I think every single listener will instantly recognize.
The dishwasher.
Yes.
It is the quintessential example of domestic enveloping.
Think about the history of washing dishes.
Right.
For decades, if you read science fiction from the 1950s, people assumed that the future of dishwashing would involve a humanoid robot.
Rosie the robot from the Jetsons.
Exactly. A metal butler standing at the kitchen sink, holding a sponge, looking at a plate, visually identifying a piece of dried egg yolk, and scrubbing it off.
But creating a machine with that level of visual spatial reasoning and adaptive intelligence is incredibly difficult.
So we didn't do it. We didn't build an intelligent robot to wash dishes in a human environment. We changed the environment.
We built a 3D metal box. That box is the envelope.
We put two stupid spinning plastic arms inside it that just spray hot water in a predictable pattern. We throw in a cube of chemical detergent, and we close the door.
We completely transformed the task to suit a mindless machine. We enveloped the chore.
And that strategy, enveloping the physical space to accommodate mindless algorithms, is now escaping the factory floor and the kitchen.
It really is.
We are currently enveloping our entire physical, social, and urban environments to make them machine-friendly.
The sources have this somewhat funny but deeply revealing example about the Roomba, the robotic vacuum cleaner.
Oh, this one is so true.
Yes, the Roomba. It is a very effective little machine, but again, it is not intelligent. It follows simple algorithms. Drive forward until you bump into a wall, rotate 90 degrees, drive forward again.
It cannot adapt to complex human furniture.
So what happens? Humans change their behavior to accommodate the machine. Floridi mentions the phenomenon of people intentionally buying IKEA sofas specifically because those models have higher legs.
They aren't buying the sofa because it's more comfortable for a human to sit on. They are buying it because the clearance underneath allows the Roomba to fit without getting stuck.
It's hilarious, but profound.
We are literally redesigning the furniture in our living rooms to be machine-friendly.
We are adapting our human spaces to the machine's limitations. And it goes far beyond living room furniture. Think about enveloping on a macro scale. Think about urban planning and the push for autonomous vehicles.
Right. We've been hearing that driverless cars are going to take over our cities any day now.
For years now.
But the reality is, a human city is incredibly chaotic. You have jaywalkers stepping out from between parked cars, erratic cyclists, unpredictable weather, construction zones, temporary detours.
It is an environment of pure uncertainty.
And creating an AI that is genuinely intelligent enough to navigate that human chaos safely is proving to be a monumental, perhaps impossible challenge using current paradigms.
The algorithms keep failing when confronted with edge cases, situations they haven't been trained on.
So what is the proposed solution from urban planners and tech companies?
They want to simplify the city.
Exactly. City councils around the world are actively debating creating special, dedicated, sensor-laden lanes exclusively for driverless cars.
They want to put physical barriers up to keep pedestrians out. They want to embed transmitters in the asphalt to feed data directly to the cars.
It's the train track analogy all over again. A train is a terrible vehicle for navigating a dense forest, so we didn't teach trains to dodge trees.
No. We built a continuous, perfectly flat steel envelope across entire continents, so the train only ever has to calculate two directions, forward and backward.
We are trying to turn our complex human cities into giant algorithmic train tracks.
We are removing the human chaos to make the environment safe for the stupid car. We are enveloping the urban landscape.
The sources use a really striking generational metaphor to summarize this shift. They talk about the grandmother, the mother, and the granddaughter.
It's a beautiful way to visualize our changing relationship with the digital environment.
Walk us through it.
The grandmother walked inside the machine. Think of the dawn of computing in the 1940s and 50s. Machines like EIS.
They were massive, room-sized behemoths.
Right. The early programmers, many of whom were women, literally walked inside the computer holding screwdrivers, physically unplugging cables and moving them to different ports to program the logic.
The human was inside the machine.
Then we have the mother. The mother walked outside the computer. This is the desktop era of the 1980s and 90s.
The computer shrank down to a box sitting on a desk.
Yes. The human sat in the physical world, outside the machine, and looked through a glass screen to interact with the digital world.
But the granddaughter...
The granddaughter has walked back inside the computer.
But here is the critical difference. She doesn't realize she is inside it.
No.
She lives inside the dishwasher. She lives inside the fully enveloped Infosphere.
Her house is smart and adjusts the thermostat based on her location. Her car is smart and keeps her in the lane. Her phone is constantly curating her media.
She is entirely immersed in a digital envelope that is anticipating her needs, and she only realizes she is inside a machine when the Wi-Fi drops and the environment suddenly stops responding to her.
Which forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question about our daily lives.
What's that?
In this fully enveloped world, where the environment is perfectly structured for the machine, who is the interface?
Oh, wow. Let's go back to the dishwasher for a second. The dishwasher is highly agentive, but incredibly stupid. It cannot walk to the dining room table, pick up the dirty plates, scrape the leftover spaghetti into the trash, and organize the bowls on the top rack.
No, it requires a highly intelligent, flexible agent to do all of that prep work.
When you load the dishwasher, you are the meat-based interface serving the machine's environment. You are doing the complex, chaotic work so the mindless machine can succeed in its envelope.
As we envelop more and more of our world, from our homes to our cities, we risk becoming the support staff for our own convenience.
It's chilling when you put it like that.
Think about how often you modify your own behavior to serve a machine. We adapt our language, speaking in slow, clipped sentences so virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa can understand us.
We use specific keywords on our resumes because we know a human isn't reading it right. An applicant tracking system algorithm is scanning it. We format our entire professional history to please a mindless parser.
We are constantly translating the messy, analog reality of our lives into neat, digitized formats to ensure the machines run smoothly. We are serving the envelope.
It is a complete role reversal. We thought we were building tools to serve us, but we are actively re-architecting our reality and our behavior to serve the tools.
Exactly.
And if the physical and social worlds are being systematically redesigned to cater to algorithms, we absolutely must ask the next logical question: who is writing the algorithms? Who controls this new envelope we are all living inside?
And that leads us to the morphology of control in the 21st century. It brings us to the concept of gray power.
Gray power.
If the first revolution was about our place in the cosmos, and the fourth is about our place in the realm of information, then gray power is about the evolution of authority and dominance in human society.
Let's explore this shift in power. Because historically, power was very tangible. It was brute force.
Historically, power was entirely based on physical control. If you wanted to rule a population, you needed to control the stuff.
The actual resources.
You conquer the land. You control the raw materials, the fresh water, the energy sources, or you commanded the largest military force.
The kings, the emperors, the industrial tycoons, they controlled the supply. And if you controlled the physical supply, you controlled the people who needed it to survive.
Exactly. But in the Infosphere, that model breaks down entirely. We live in a world overflowing with cheap, mass-produced physical goods and absolutely free, infinite information.
Controlling the stuff is no longer the ultimate source of dominance.
Power has shifted to something more subtle. Gray power is not the formal political power of a president or the military power of a general. It is the power behind those figures.
The power behind the throne.
It is the power of influencing those who have the formal power to influence.
The influencers of the influencers.
And the Onlife, gray power manifests as the control over the morphology of uncertainty.
The morphology of uncertainty, that's a dense phrase.
It just means controlling the questions that can be asked and the answers that can be received.
The sources point out something incredibly stark to illustrate this. Look at the biggest, most valuable companies in the world right now. Platforms like Uber or Airbnb or Amazon.
Right.
When Uber started, they didn't manufacture cars. Airbnb doesn't own the hotels. Amazon initially didn't write or print the books it sold. They don't produce the raw goods.
What they produce and what they ruthlessly control is the connection.
Yes.
They control the matchmaking algorithm. They dictate exactly how a consumer finds a product and how a producer finds a market. They curate the reality you see when you open the app. They are the architects of the new envelope.
And this kind of algorithmic control bleeds directly into formal political power. The sources note that modern political administrations, and this spans the globe, routinely rely on advisors and lobbyists from these massive tech platforms.
Why? Because the tech giants understand the algorithms that shape public perception.
Exactly. They hold the keys to managing the uncertainty of the public sphere. They know how information flows through the brackish water.
This raises an important question, though, regarding autonomy. Because when we talk about losing our freedom or autonomy to a powerful, centralized entity, our cultural reflex is usually to think of dystopian fiction.
We think of George Orwell's 1984. We think of Big Brother.
We picture totalitarianism, boot stomping on a human face forever, the threat of physical violence, secret police, and terror used to enforce compliance.
But the sources, drawing heavily on thinkers like Shoshana Zuboff, make a vital distinction here. Gray power in the infosphere does not operate like Big Brother.
No, it exercises what is called instrumentarian power.
Instrumentarian power.
It has no use for violence or physical coercion. It is the frictionless, invisible conquest of human agency. And it relies on a terrifying paradox: predictable freedom.
Predictable freedom. Let's dig into the mechanics of that. How does a system control you while leaving you entirely free?
Instrumentarian power doesn't point a gun at your head and force you to make a specific choice. Instead, it observes you. It collects trillions of data points on your behavior, your preferences, your biological rhythms, your micro-hesitations while scrolling, your insecurities, and your habits.
Everything you do.
It feeds all of that data into a machine learning model. And then it gently curates your digital environment so that the choices you freely make align perfectly with its commercial or political objectives.
It nudges you. It reminds me of the layout of a massive casino in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's a perfect comparison.
When you walk into a casino, nobody forces you to play a slot machine. You are completely free to walk anywhere you want.
But the environment is meticulously mathematically enveloped to guide you.
Exactly. There are no clocks on the walls, so you lose track of time. The carpets have dizzying patterns that subconsciously push your eyes up toward the brightly lit machines.
The sounds are engineered to induce a state of flow.
The aisles are curved to constantly reveal a new game. You are making free choices, but the architecture of the space practically guarantees that you will sit down and spend money.
That is a brilliant analogy. The Infosphere is a global casino, and the algorithms are designing the carpets and the lights in real time, customized specifically for your psychological profile.
It's the recommendation engines. It's sitting on the couch on a Friday night and letting Netflix automatically play the next episode because the algorithm has predicted exactly what narrative beats will keep your eyes on the screen, preventing you from clicking away.
It's Amazon recommending a pair of shoes you didn't even know you wanted, but suddenly feel a deep impulse to buy.
We are making the choice. We feel autonomous, but the menu has been entirely curated to guarantee the outcome.
And it extends far beyond entertainment and shopping.
That's the scary part.
The sources highlight profound, real-world applications of this predictive power in domains like the justice system. For instance, courts in certain jurisdictions, like Philadelphia, have experimented with using AI algorithms to predict criminal behavior.
Specifically assessing the statistical likelihood of a defendant reoffending if granted bail.
Judges, who are human and prone to fatigue and bias, can use these algorithmic predictions to adjust the severity of a sentence or a bail amount.
Which is terrifying when you pull back the curtain.
Right.
Because these algorithms are often proprietary black boxes. We don't know exactly how they weigh the variables, and they frequently reflect and amplify historical biases embedded in the training data.
Yet, they are being used to predict human freedom.
We are outsourcing our navigation to GPS, we are outsourcing our social relationships to engagement algorithms, and we are outsourcing our very knowledge production to search engines.
We mindlessly bind ourselves to terms and conditions, trading our fundamental autonomy for friction-free convenience.
The societal implications are just massive. The sources discuss how these systems of instrumentarian power have been credited with shaping the informational landscape during major democratic events, such as the 2016 elections.
Yes.
Now, and we must be clear, the point here isn't to validate or endorse any specific political outcomes. The data point here is the mechanism itself.
Right, it's about the capability. By precisely targeting demographics with tailored information and sometimes disinformation based on their psychological profiles, these platforms can subtly shift the morphology of uncertainty on a population scale.
The very fact that private tech platforms possess the architecture to nudge voter behavior so effectively demonstrates an unprecedented concentration of gray power.
It forces us to ask ourselves, as listeners sitting in this brackish water, if a platform can perfectly predict your behavior and then subtly nudge your environment so that you consistently make the choices it wants you to make, at what point does your right to the future tense?
Your right to the future tense. I love that phrase.
Yeah, your fundamental human ability to genuinely decide your own fate, to surprise yourself, to break from your past patterns. At what point does that disappear into an algorithm's business model?
It is a gradual, comfortable erosion of agency. And it leaves us in a highly precarious position as a species. Because while we are living in this increasingly digitized, seamlessly enveloped world, being gently nudged by invisible gray power, we are simultaneously facing a massive existential crisis outside the envelope.
Right. We have all this pristine, frictionless digital infrastructure. We can send a high-definition video across the globe in milliseconds.
But the physical planet, the biosphere, is literally burning. We are facing catastrophic climate change, resource depletion, massive pollution, and sprawling urbanization. The analog world is degrading rapidly.
So the ultimate question of our time becomes, How do we reconcile this powerful digital world with a messy, degrading physical world?
So what does this all mean? The sources offer a framework for this. They say the answer isn't to reject the technology and go back to the woods. The answer is to unite them. This brings us to what Flaherty calls the ultimate human project for the 21st century, the green and blue synthesis.
The green and blue synthesis. It is conceptualized as the marriage of the century.
Let's define the colors here. What's green and what's blue?
Green represents all of our analog environments. It's not just the biological environments of forests and oceans, but also our urban spaces, our social structures, and our economic systems. It is the physical reality we inhabit.
Okay. And blue?
Blue represents the entirety of digital technologies, artificial intelligence, big data, the Internet of Things, the global sensor network.
Now, historically, we have always viewed technology and the environment as mortal enemies. The industrial era, the factories, the smokestacks, the combustion engines, the strip mines achieved human progress by violently extracting from and destroying the green.
Technology meant pollution and depletion.
Exactly. The industrial paradigm was parasitic, but the blue digital technology is fundamentally different. In its essence, it is immaterial. It operates on information and processing power.
And the sources argue that, paradoxically, digital technology is the exact tool, and perhaps the only tool, capable of saving the green environment.
Because it allows us to do exponentially more with exponentially less.
Precisely. It allows for radical efficiency at a scale the human brain simply cannot comprehend. Take a modern megacity like Tokyo, or Sao Paulo, or London.
Just huge, sprawling systems.
Managing the energy consumption of 30 million people, optimizing the daily traffic flow to reduce emissions, routing the waste distribution, and managing the supply chains of food and water, that is a problem of staggering, incomprehensible complexity.
Human bureaucrats using spreadsheets cannot optimize it.
No, there are too many variables. But an artificial intelligence, analyzing real-time data from millions of IoT sensors embedded in the city's infrastructure, can.
It can dynamically route power in a smart grid based on predictive load. It can adjust traffic lights in real time to prevent idling cars from pumping out exhaust. It can track a piece of plastic from the moment it is manufactured to the moment it is recycled, ensuring it never hits a landfill.
That is the absolute power of the blue. But for this synthesis to work, there has to be a profound shift in the business world and our economic models.
Yes, the sources use a great metaphor here. They say that sustainability and digital integration cannot just be the cherry on the cake of a traditional business model.
What does that look like in practice, the cherry on the cake?
Well, it looks like a corporation operating exactly as it did in the 20th century, producing cheap physical goods, encouraging mindless consumption, utilizing planned obsolescence, and creating massive waste. And then just adding a little bit of green policy and a little bit of blue technology on top to look modern for the shareholders.
Greenwashing, basically.
Exactly. They plant a few trees, they launch a mobile app, and they call themselves a sustainable tech company. That is treating the green and blue synthesis as a garnish.
But Flaherty argues that if you think that way, your business is already dead. You are stuck in the past. The green and blue synthesis isn't the cherry on the cake. It is the cake.
It must be the fundamental structural foundation of the new economy. We have to completely abandon the linear economy of the 20th century.
The linear economy being extract, produce, consume, discard. We dig a metal out of the ground, make a phone, use it for 2 years, and throw it into a toxic landfill.
A model that is actively destroying the green. To survive, we have to move to a circular economy. And we can only achieve a truly global, functional circular economy by utilizing the immense tracking and optimization power of the blue.
We need the data and the AI to manage complex recycling streams, to optimize shared resource platforms so we don't all need to own a lawnmower or a car, and to eliminate waste at the very design level.
The sources take this a step further, suggesting we must divorce capitalism from blind consumerism, which sounds like a massive paradigm shift. Capitalism without consumerism. How does an economy grow if we aren't buying more stuff?
Flaherty conceptualizes this as a shift toward a capitalism of care. In mature, advanced, technologically enveloped societies, the primary focus of the economy must shift away from the relentless production and consumption of physical things.
So what drives growth?
The growth must come from an economy focused on experiences, fostering, maintenance, and taking care of the world.
It's an economy of stewardship.
Yes. It's prioritizing optimization and well-being over extraction. It is using the immense, mindless agency of the blue algorithms to foster, maintain, and protect the green environments, rather than depleting them for short-term linear profit.
But there is a deep, almost poetic irony here, isn't there? We are placing our hope for survival in the very machines that delivered our fourth narcissistic wound.
We really are.
We are relying on the mindless agents of the fourth revolution, the algorithms that displaced us from the center of the informational universe to save the only physical home we have. We are trusting the envelope to protect the planet.
It's a huge gamble.
It makes you wonder, can we as a species actually govern this digital infrastructure effectively enough to achieve a capitalism of care? Or will we just let the invisible nudges of gray power dictate the survival of the planet while we stay comfortably distracted by the algorithms on our phones?
That is the ultimate test of human governance in the 21st century. We have to move from merely reacting and adapting to the technology to actively designing a human project that directs the technology toward our collective survival. The tools have no intelligence. They only have the agency we give them. We must provide the purpose.
We have covered incredible, challenging ground today. We started by stepping into the brackish waters of the Onlife, realizing that the digital and physical have permanently dissolved into the Infosphere.
A total collapse of boundaries.
We confronted Alan Turing's fourth revolution, grappling with the fact that we share our world with mindless but highly capable machines that have divorced agency from intelligence.
The smart toasters landing airplanes.
Exactly. We looked at how we are actively enveloping our physical spaces, redesigning our furniture, our cars, our cities to make them machine-friendly.
We explored the subtle, invisible casino-like nudges of gray power shaping our predictable freedom.
And we ended with the hopeful, necessary blueprint of the green and blue synthesis to build an economy of care.
And to you, the listener, navigating this landscape, the crucial takeaway is that this transition requires your active, critical awareness. You are swimming in the mangrove society right now.
You're in the brackish water.
Recognizing the envelope, seeing how the digital architecture is actively being structured around you to serve the algorithm, is the very first step to ensuring you aren't just reduced to a data subject, fueling someone else's gray power. You have to see the water to swim in it intentionally.
Absolutely. You can't navigate a map if you don't know what world it represents. And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day. We spent the last few decades enveloping the physical world to make it machine-friendly. We raised the IKEA sofa for the Roomba. We are trying to simplify the city for the autonomous car. We changed our external environment. But if our identities are now purely informational in this infosphere, and the physical world is becoming fully optimized for algorithms, how long will it be before we feel the pressure to actively redesign human biology and human psychology just to remain compatible with our own digital habitat?
If the environment is the envelope, our very minds and bodies the next thing to be enveloped to better serve the machine?
A chilling but entirely necessary question as we build the future. Something to think about the next time you pick up your phone and wonder who is really training who. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll see you next time.